and welcome to this week's YouTube video. Today I'm going to show you the final part of how I painted Mark and Fin. I will be showing you how I got from this to this. If you have not watched parts 1 and 2, I would suggest watching them first, and they are available on my channel. Let's get straight into the time-lapse video, and I will talk about what I am doing as I go along. This painting was done in 3 layers over multiple sittings. I am using a little bit of linseed oil on layers 2 and 3. Last week's video finished with my struggles with Fin. My colours were going awry. Whilst I decided to go back and fix Mark, I still had to adjust parts of Fin that I could see were obviously wrong. This is because incorrect colour, temperature and value choices will affect how I see the objects that sit next to them. So I had to go back and fix the obvious areas that I could see were wrong. I did not do this in any real detail. I am just laying the blocks of obvious colour. It is when I am refining in the last parts of the painting that I add detail. I like to think of it in terms of a triangle. I start off with a broad base, and as I progress through the painting, I move up the triangle. The top section of the triangle represents the detail. Interestingly, in terms of time spent, it can be the detailed areas that take the time. The triangle analogy doesn't really represent the time spent in the various phases of the painting. I am also using this opportunity to correct my drawing on Fin's face, where I can see that it is wrong. At this stage, I am looking at my painting and the reference photos side by side, and this is making it easier for me to see where I am wrong. I stand about 2 meters back when I'm doing this. As I've been working on this painting for a while, I have sinking in issues in my dark areas. So for example, Mark's hair. I'm going to be reworking his face, so I need to fix this issue so I can accurately judge my colours. Sinking in happens when dark colours dry lighter, or you get dull spots in these areas. To fix it, just rub a little linseed oil on the area. You only need a very small amount and wipe off any excess. Do not apply in the areas you intend to work on, only those that are done but have dried dull or lighter. Wiping a little linseed oil over these areas will restore the colours and make it easier to judge your colours in those areas. This is what I've done in Mark's hair. I can then rework this area. I have not changed my palette, I am just adjusting the areas where I think I am out on my values, colours and temperatures. My drawing for his face was okay, so I didn't need to adjust this. You'll see from the video that I am using my really small round brushes for the detailed areas around the eyes, nose and mouth. Save your small brushes for the areas of detail, and remember that smaller brushes will always give you a more rendered area, so I always use them in my areas of interest. I am making minor adjustments to the arm area and also the t-shirt. These are adjustments in both value and temperature. I am not changing my palette at all. I am using the same colour mix combinations I used in the previous layers, but I am adjusting them in terms of value and colour. If they need to be darker, I may add more rich black. To adjust the saturation of the colour, I will add maybe more orange or red. To lighten, I will add white. The paint colour stays the same, but I just adjust my mixing accordingly. As I progress through the painting, it gets easier to judge both of these the more paint I get on the canvas. And the more you paint, the quicker you will get. It is very easy to watch other artists in their painting process and be disheartened. However, most have done thousands of hours of painting, which is why they make it look easy. With practice, you will improve. Plus, you don't tend to see all the disasters or the struggles or the experimental pieces. It is important to take your time and to go at your own pace and to stay focused on what you are doing. I had drawing issues in the hand areas. I was off with these fingers and it was pushing out this whole area. It didn't matter how well I painted it, it just looked off. So I had to go back in and rework the whole area. It took me 2 attempts to get that hand right. I didn't film the whole process of this because the video would have just been too long to edit, but I thought it was important to mention how many issues I had with it. The drawing of the fingers still isn't quite right, but I decided that reworking it would take me too long. This hand was hard because the drawing was complex and there was a lot of shifting in temperatures and colours. The hand was not a point of focus, so needed to be painted loosely with soft edges. Being expressive with this area kept pushing out my drawing, and so I probably made it a little tighter than I would have liked. I would need to practice painting hands more often if I want to improve my painting in this area. Before I go back to attempting Fin, I need to make sure I've painted the area around him and observed it as correctly as I can. This will help me more accurately judge the colours, values and temperatures in Fin's coat. Moving on to Fin, let me show you my palette. I have my base grey, which is my rich black plus white. I know from my reference photo that my shadows are warm in these areas here. And there is also a lot of alizarin crimson in Fin's coat, which I need to mix into my warm areas and also my cool areas. If I take each area in turn, starting with his bottom paw, this area is warmer than this area here. It is also darker in value. I have therefore used my rich black with a bit of white and a lot of orange. By orange, I mean yellow ochre light and alizarin crimson. As I move further down, I use my base grey plus orange plus cadmium yellow. The addition of that cadmium yellow gives me almost a dirty grey. As I move up to the area under his chin, I am using a rich black heavier on the brown, plus alizarin crimson plus white. Notice the addition of the yellow ochre light in this area here gives me enough of a shift between these two areas. So this one is more orange than that one. Moving up to Fin's face, for this area here, I have used my base grey plus alizarin crimson to give me more of a silvery grey. I have added my khaki green in this area here to show the reflected light of the sofa. Notice also these warmer areas here, where I have had to add more alizarin crimson, and this cooler dark area here where I have used more of my rich black. As I move around, the face begins to shift in temperature to a warmer orange. I am using very little grey in this area and a lot of orange. Let me show you my palette again, but at a more developed stage. This is my base orange for that middle area. Where it becomes more pink, I add alizarin crimson, and where it lightens, I add more white plus yellow ochre light. Notice also the trickery that your eye can make. The areas are very similar in value and actually quite dark. The form is controlled by the temperature shifts. As I move into this area here, the colour and temperature changes again, but the value doesn't really. I am seeing more of a dirty yellow grey. This is where I need to introduce my cadmium yellow again. I am mixing together my orange, my base grey and cadmium yellow. Again, my eye is tricking me. This area is not as grey as it looks. It is much warmer. I am continuously holding up both my white card and my grey card against my reference photo to tell me how warm I need to go. This area on his leg is the same colour as that area there, but as I move up to the top of the leg, it becomes much cooler. I just add a bit more base grey to my mix. This is enough to give the temperature shift I need. As I move around to the highlights, I begin to mix in ultramarine plus the alizarin crimson into white plus a small amount of base grey, just to take the punch out of that purple. Remember that yellow and purple are complementary colours. When you place them next to each other, they look amazing. I have placed yellow next to purple. This makes my highlights really punchy. For the really white areas, I have used my titanium zinc white on its own. This gives the area around his ear and the top of his shoulder a bit of a glow. Plus the coolness of that white is directly contrasted by the warmness of that red t-shirt. It is very easy when painting white dogs to end up with something that either looks too chalky or too muddy. If you have colours that look chalky, you have added too much white and not enough saturated colour. If you have a painting that looks too muddy, you have been too heavy on your warm temperatures. The success of painting a white dog lies in the artist's ability to correctly observe those colour shifts between warm and cool and to find the colour in the animal's coat. Try and avoid using a grey made from black and white and instead mix up some colourful neutrals. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can, and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching and see you for the next one.